Alrighty. Hey there, Lakers fans. Welcome back to another episode of Lakers Detailed. I am your host, Vinay, with my co host, Raj. Raj, how are you doing on this wonderful, extremely hot Tuesday evening? So it's not as wonderful as we like it to be.
Yeah, I'm shocked it's hotter here than it was in Vegas. I was expecting to
Yes.
come home with a little bit of a cool down, but instead, I feel like I've come home and it's even more hot here. So surviving the heat, basketball kind of ended. This is Vinay. So obviously 12 months in a year, as everyone knows. This is
Yes.
like my least favorite part of like the year,
Yes.
and it's
Agreed.
not as long this year because FIBA basketball will be there at the end of August, so it's not as long. But this like stretch right here between end of around middle of July when summer league ends to usually September when like training camp starts. That's like my least favorite part of the year, but we're surviving. We'll be doing shows and all that through that. But yeah, I'm hanging in. How you doing, man?
Yeah, I'm doing good, man. It's just this heat has been crazy. We are about 2 weeks away from my oldest going back to school for second grade, so that's going to be nice to get her out of the
Okay.
house because this is like the first summer for the people who have kids that are listening to us. I'm sure they'll relate. Like figuring out what they're going to do, what your kids are going to do. Eventually, you'll probably cross this bridge, Raj. But like figuring out what your kids are going to do during the summer is hell because you like there's only so many camps they can go to and so many things they can do. So
Sure.
they're getting back to school is going to be good. Otherwise, it's been pretty good. I agree with you, dude. This is like the dog days for
Yes.
basketball fans because there's nothing really on. Obviously, WNBA is on. You can watch
Very
WNBA games
much.
stuff like that.
Very much
So
so.
shout out to them. But for NBA fans, there isn't really much going on. It's like this for a while, and there's just been stuff kind of dragging on. Typically, we would do this pod on like Monday night because usually some news drops on Monday, but nothing dropped this week
Nope.
outside of like some small information that we'll cover. So the theme for today's spaces is really going to be talking about some of the stuff that's gone on, Lakers related and non-Lakers related around the league. That matters because it's going to affect another team that's in our division, which we'll have to be concerned about. And then just talking about some of the stuff that we've sort of heard around the Lakers stuff, Lakers news. So why don't we just go ahead and jump into it? The first thing we wanted to hit on, which is like the biggest news I would say of the past couple of days, was LeBron giving the speech at the ESPYS
Mm.
and basically telling everybody that he's not retiring, which I think most fans kind of knew was going to be the case. He's under contract. It wouldn't seem like him to be abrupt. But I do want to say this before I ask your thoughts about the way he delivered it. Those sunglasses that Braun is wearing are super fire, dude. Like everybody was making fun of him. Like looks like Doctor Octopus's glasses from Amazing Spider-Man or whatever movie it is.
Yeah.
I wanted a pair of those after I saw them. Like those are like I don't know if you know what steampunk is, but it's like this like
Mm.
steampunk style glasses. Like, bro, I need to get me a pair of these or something that's like this because they're probably like really really expensive. Knowing Braun, but
Mm.
I know that the picture of him in wearing those glasses and smiling at his family like kind of went. People turned into a meme, but I need to get my hands on those glasses. I'm going to show up to a Laker game next year or next season in those glasses.
Yeah.
Uh, what did you think about the announcement? Was it a surprise? You were cool with it?
Well, really quickly, it just reminded me, Jaren Jackson Jr. was wearing sunglasses, at the summer league game, like
Oh, that's right. Yes,
courtside,
we did.
doing the interview, doing the in sunglasses. Had zero respect for any of the questions that were coming in. Just completely uh, tuned into the game while being interviewed. No, I mean, look, I don't think anyone was surprised. I think LeBron delivered the "I'm coming back" in a way that only LeBron can. I mean,
Yeah.
he had his glasses on and said, lucky for you guys, kind of like, kind of playing it off as I'm doing you guys a favor, which he is obviously exciting
Yeah.
to watch him play next season. Look, not just us. I mean, the Lakers operated as if he was coming back.
Yeah.
Like I would be pretty upset if like this was the summer and then LeBron in August goes, yeah, no, I'm good. Like, wait, like we just signed all these deals are kind of lined up to
Yeah.
be complementary pieces to you and Anthony Davis, not to run a team without you. So I think the Lakers operated with that fact in mind, and I don't think anyone thought. I do believe though, Vinay, like at the end of the Denver series, like there was some reflection, there
I'm
was
sure.
some
Yeah.
introspection, there was some, do I want to put my body through this again? through like a whole 82 game grind. Not that he's going to play every game, and then a playoff grind, because those are two separate seasons. LeBron treats them as such.
Yeah.
I'm sure after the Denver series, and I've told you on this podcast, I honestly think he thought he was winning the title last year, and I do think if he won the title last year, there is a non-0%. I don't know the percent. Look, his number next year is I think what 50 million or something like that, or 60 million maybe. I don't know the exact number, or maybe it's less than that. I don't think he has the new cap hit on him, but whatever it is, it's a pretty good chunk of change that he signed for next year. I do think like there's a 0% chance that he would at least consider hanging up, going out on top. But no, I don't think I was shocked at all, and he delivered the return as he would. So it's great. LeBron's back. Let's everyone can stop. They can stop holding their breath. LeBron will return next season.
Yeah, I think it's a great stage. He's in front of a lot of celebrities, a lot of athletes, and ESPYs is kind of like I wouldn't say it's like a big premier event, but it certainly is a premier event for all the athletes to get together. So I think it's cool. He did win an award, I think, for record breaking. I forgot what the exact award was, but he won an award, and that's when he delivered the speech. So it was cool. Obviously, his beautiful family was up there, so that was also awesome too as well. See his wife, his daughter, kind of make jokes. And whatnot. So it was very cool to see that. Obviously, sigh of relief. Yeah, I don't think it would seem too anticlimactic is the phrase I keep thinking of. If he had just been like, yeah, I'm done. I'm not going to do it anymore. But one thing I think that he said, which I think he's been pretty consistent about. I'm sure if you ask Bron fans who followed him in his entire career, he's always said, like until he feels that like he has nothing else to give to the game, or like he feels like he's cheating the game of basketball, like that's when he's going to call it quits. And so I think that's a very honorable way. It's like an honorable thing to say, because you don't see too many guys say, like you see a lot of guys that say, I'm just going to keep playing until they stop paying me. Basically, guys have to be forced out of the league. But he's a player of his stature, obviously, arguably the greatest player of all time. Like to be able to say that even at this, because he was great statistically, he was fantastic. Even last year, to be able to say that, I'll stop when I feel like it's just not in me anymore. And I think that's kind of cool. I think that's kind of right in line with the kind of person he has been as a basketball player. Like, I'm going to decide my destiny, what team I play for, how hard I'm going to play, all that stuff that you would expect top guys to do.
Yeah, for sure. And like, I think he's very much in the Kobe mindset, right? He's not going to be Vince Carter or all those guys that kind of took these backseat roles at the end of their career. LeBron has shifted. He has like shape shifted into a screener, into a big man. But like every game, if it comes down to it, he's going to have the ball in his hands. Like he's still going to be the driver of the offense, with the ball in his hands, running pick and roll or whatever when it's winning time. So I don't think he's going to play until like he just is a role player, I guess, for like a lack of a better term. Kind of like how Kobe did. Remember, like in his last few seasons, he's like I'm not going out as I'm not going out averaging. I forgot the number he said. He gave like a specific points per game number, like 10 points or something like that. You're not going to see me averaging 10 points a game. Like I'll be done with the game before that. And I think LeBron just is his physical and mental, advantage is still there. I think at the end of the Denver series, he said he's still better than 95% of the league, whatever that means to him. But like what that means to me is like he can still put up whatever his numbers are, 25, 8 and 8, on a reasonable percentage, and do that probably till he wants. I'm sure the grind for him. I think when you say cheating the game, Vinay, I think what that means is not the actual basketball game, right? Not the 7 p.m. start time. It's the wake up at 8 a.m. Get the treatment. Go home, go back, get more treatment, go home, go back and sit in the hyperbolic chamber for like a few hours, and then sleep at like this regimented time and eat at this time. Like, I think that's what he means by not cheating the game. And looks like he's going for it, for at least one more year.
Yeah. No, it's awesome to see that, for Laker fans, at least for one more year, unless we find out that he extends, like does another 1+1 or something like that. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure if he's eligible now, but he might be eligible like in August. I know AD's extension eligible. He'll be extension eligible like in August. So it might happen around that same time. But, obviously the Lakers have signed a bunch of deals and a lot of guys have been signed. And we'll get into that because, one of the topics that I had for our space or our pod today was, rotation battles. Like, are there going to be training camp battles for positions? It's from the writing circle, from what our beat writers have written. it sounds like the only 3 spots that are pretty solidified in the Lakers rotation, and we can get into eventually whether we agree or not. The solidified spots are Austin Reeves, AD, and LeBron, and it sounds like what's being termed as, the other 2 guys, the other 2 spots will have to be training camp battles. I'm not quite sure that'll be the case, but not for both spots at least. But that's something that we can approach. But before we get into that, there's been news around the league that's been going on, right? Specifically 2 players around the league who have now turned their trade demands away from their teams into what sounds like are hostage situations with their respective teams, right? So, on Twitter, you can be whoever you want. That's the best part of Twitter. We just came from Vegas. Vegas is another place where you can literally make up who you are. Nobody knows who you are, unless you obviously brought into people that that's a little different. But if you're hanging out with complete strangers, gambling, you can just make up with your name, whatever you want. It's a fun. I'll tell you about it. It's a fun game that me and my buddies used to do. Anyways, that's neither here nor there. But both these players are seemingly in hostage situations, and on Twitter, there's a lot of people saying this player is saying this behind the scenes, and this GM is doing that behind the scenes, and then you get some more deliberate information from the GM Daryl Morey, Joe Cronin, who are doing actual press releases and pressers in regards to it. But Damian Lillard and James Harden are in hostage situations from the way that is being presented to us, right? And they've requested trades. They want to go to very specific destinations. Dame's trying to get to Miami, and Jim is trying to get to the Clippers. We hear lots of news around why they want to go where they want to go, all that sort of stuff. And now it seems like they're being held for ransom to see if the teams can extract as much as they possibly can. Let's go into Dame first. If you want to do Dame first, does that work? Yeah?
We could, before we start, so you just mentioned, I think Joe Cronin is the Blazers GM, and then Daryl Morey is obviously running the Philadelphia 76ers. But Nate, I don't remember when GMs who have active trade requests from their star players do public interviews during the time. I have a bad recollection, but I don't remember Dell Demps. I think was it Dell Demps running the Anthony Davis situation? I believe so.
Before he got
there was a lot of sourcing going on, and that goes on every time. There's a lot of he said, she said. I don't remember on the record remarks. Daryl Morey knows what he's going to be asked, so he goes on this Philadelphia interview. Maybe he thinks no one's listening, but they ask him pointedly, what are you going to do with James Harden? He said the deal sucked. Bringing James Harden back, and I think that's so weird. And then Joe Cronin's public. These are public. You can go check these quotes. These are real quotes. I don't have to say sourcing or whatever. Not that I have Portland sources, but he said, "Look, it'd be nice if Dame would add some teams to his trade press." That's a public quote from a few weeks ago. Am I wrong here? It's not normal, right? I don't remember that in the Anthony Davis situation. I don't remember that. Who else just got traded recently? I'm blanking, but I don't remember these GMs being so public and outright with their not only what's going on, but also I guess what they want back in the situation. That's just negotiating publicly. Do you remember that being happening before? I just the Spurs GM was not on radio while Kawhi Leonard said, "Give me a trade." He wasn't I wish Kawhi would be a little bit, be a little bit more public. So I think that part's strange, but. Do you agree with that? I don't remember that at all.
Yeah, I can't remember. Obviously when AD asked out, there's a lot of conversation about it.
Yeah.
Just where he want, not where he want, it was publicized where he wanted to go. A lot of that also had to do with, folks not liking Rich Paul. And whenever it comes to Clutch and Rich Paul, there's a lot of extra stuff that comes with just kind of, being who he is and working in this industry. But no, I haven't. The other thing I will say is, Dame has been doing. I feel like everybody's just kind of sick and tired of Dame. The idea of a Dame trade, the idea of Damian Lillard, at this, I feel like most of the sentiment that I've seen is people are like, bro, just get it over with. Get him out of there because we're just tired of seeing him tweet he's playing. He goes to a club or wherever. He's at a bar and they're playing "Welcome to Miami." And then he has his agent go out and say, "No, that was it just happenstance that happened."
Sure.
And then 2 days later, he really does want to go to Miami. It's all right, dude. We're not fans can be dumb, but we're not that dumb. Like we can read between the lines where you want to go, and so it feels like this is the other thing I'll tell you guys also this, which is kind of fascinating. This is the first time, and I wonder if it's because of Twitter. It's because we just have more access to information. Like
Sure.
that GMs have become like these public figures. They're almost celebrities themselves now, in the same way that
That's
athletes
new.
are.
Yeah.
Yeah, like before it used to be players and coaches, but now like who the assistant coaches are, which assistant coach rocks with who, like Phil Handy is with the Lakers. Obviously, the Lakers is a little bit different because of how big our fan base is. But like people, do people know who the skills development guys are for their teams on other teams? Like they may not, like it's not,
Right.
but Phil Handy is a well known name in LA in that capacity. But like GMs now, assistant GMs is like,
Yeah.
oh, the assistant GM from the Clippers used to be behind Sam Presti, and now he's with the Wizards. So it's just like it's fascinating that in the end, though, my whole monologue about this is it's just fascinating that like basketball coverage has gotten to a point where like if you work for an organization in any meaningful capacity with like any meaningful influence or power, you're a celebrity. Like you should just show up to Vegas and get front row seats to whatever game you want. Like that's what it feels like. And GMs, I feel like GMs have now become like these public figures where it's like you don't even hear the owners. Like it's like as if they are the owners, which in some form they kind of are because they're the ones who make the decision. But like they are the owners of the teams. They are the guys that make the biggest decisions, and they're the most important person. I hear less about some owners than I do their GMs. So it's like you hear about Pat Riley. Pat Riley's not an owner. Mickey Arison owns the Heat, but it's all Pat Riley. You know what I mean? So it's just fascinating.
For sure. And I remember like at least when I was growing up watching it, Mitch Kupchak, like you would only hear from him like whenever they let you. Like Mitch Kupchak was not on whatever the ESPN or radios was like giving interviews. Yeah, I wish Kobe would be like a little bit more careful with his trade requests. Like that's brand new stuff. But let's go to Dame, because I think what's so fascinating to me even is Dame. So his 11th, 12th year in the league or whatever it is. He spent at least the last 7 building this like image, right? And Dame's one of my favorite. He's probably my favorite non-Laker. But I just love how every one of these trade requests just follow this script where you just have to become a villain, right? Like and Dame signed the contract, so he has, he gets no empathy in that in terms of he's gonna get his money wherever he goes. But I just love like it all started between like this, like, hey, like I'm not that type of superstar. Like go look at these other stars and what they're doing. I like where I'm at. I love Portland. I'm not leaving. And that was like a 7-8 year long kind of identity that he basically internalized. And not only did he internalize, he was attacking others for theirs. I think that was the most beautiful part about it was like, he's like, no, like, look at them. Like you're running from the grind to Paul George or, other stuff. And now, right. Like you look at I'm not going anywhere but Miami. Like just listen to the tone of this stuff. Send me there now.
If they want to trade me, they should start a petition to trade me. It's like, how did you turn into the victim in this situation, bro? You're the one.
No, my favorite is he's not gonna show up, in training camp for another team. Like, man, that is a heel turn. Like that is such an opposite of what Damian Lillard has kind of built. So it's just fascinating. And James Harden's like, I don't care. Like this is my 4th one. I've done this 4 times already. I know the deal. I know eventually Daryl Morey's going to have to trade me. But with Dame, it's like, this is just like, it was billed, right, Vinay, as like, this is going to be like this symbiotic relationship, right, where Dame and Portland find a solution that works for both. And that ended very quickly. That like very, nice relationship. They may still have a nice relationship inside, just the public kind of banter that's going on. I think that's interesting where the Portland GM basically comes out and it's like, that Miami offer sucks. Like it's just like, and you can read between the lines. He doesn't say the actual word, but like that's kind of what he's hinting at. And Dame's, that's where he wants to go, and Dame has a right to ask for that. But I think that's fascinating about this situation. And to me, Vinay, we watched the league for a long time. Like I think Dame's going to end up where Dame has to go. Like, it's just how this league works. There are exceptions to the rule. I just think that's how it goes. But that's the most fascinating to me, the thing with Dame is that, like, he's built this whole longevity of, I'm this loyal player. And right when the trade request hits, you have to follow this script of, trade me here. I'm not going to report to camp. say all these things that you won't actually do, or you just threaten, and you get the deal you want. So we'll see with him.
Yeah. So I if I had to take a guess, I feel like I would hope that the trade for Dame would happen before the trade for Harden, because I feel like Morey will take Harden into the regular season or into training camp, because we've seen we've seen Harden kind of do that with Houston. Like, you've seen him play basketball, and then when he's unhappy with the situation, you can ask Nets fans who follow that team very closely. There was a point where they knew, okay, he doesn't want to be here anymore, and he's not going to try and play basketball. Like, he'll do the very bare minimum to, play. He'll get his 20 points on very easy shots, wide open looks, stuff like that. So, I mean, Houston fans saw it too. He famously did that post game where he said, I don't want to be here, or we're not a championship team, or whatever it was, before he ended up getting traded. So, I've heard Morey is a pretty stubborn guy. Like, he's not somebody who will just kind of take a bad deal for the sake of taking a bad deal. So I think the Dame thing will happen, the Dame trade. It's just, I think you hit it on the head, dude. Harden at this point asking for a trade out at this point, it just means nothing to me. Like, it's just like, bro, I don't even know if you're going to be with the Clippers when the Clippers are done. You know what I mean? Like, you could end up going to another team altogether that if that situation changes. And player movement is what it is and all that sort of stuff. But it honestly feels like we're in this weird era now where we're seeing first round picks. Like, the Miles Bridges took his qualifying offer from Charlotte. Like, look, I have no comments about his personal life that I care to discuss publicly, at least. I don't care. But he was still a really great basketball player before he had to shut everything down. Like, he's taking a qualifying offer because his team doesn't want to give him anything serious, or Charlotte doesn't want to commit an extension to him. He could very conceivably come back. I think he's serving a 10, 15 game suspension. He could come back, be a spectacular basketball player again, and some team may just get him off the strength of him having an issue in his personal, having issues in his personal life. Obviously, that's still a risk another team takes, character thing and also. But we just saw Ime Udoka get let go from the Celtics and get rehired with Houston. So, we talk about the NFL and how they address the character issues of their athletes. I don't know if the NBA is very much more different. It's just they're very good at taking more of a public position. The thing I was trying to say is we're in this weird era where players just leave. It's almost as it's Twitter has turned our brains into this thing, or social media has turned our brains into this thing where it's every day is a new day. I don't even think people remember what they tweeted about last week. You know what I mean? But nowadays, NBA players, they'll just leave. They'll go wherever they want to go, and it'll be they did nothing. For a year and a half, everybody was saying, if the Nets are healthy and they stay together, they can win the whole thing. That's how good they are. And in a matter of 4 months, it all you know what I mean? It was all gone. Harden asked out. Kyrie got hurt. Kyrie doesn't get extended. He doesn't get the extension he wants, and then Kyrie's out, and now Kevin Durant's there. So it's just what do you think about that? Do you feel like you can? I think this is going to lead to people becoming more attached to their teams because the players are just moving around so much. So some people, I've had people argue against me, tell me that player standing and stuff like that is going to increase. It's going to continue to increase. And for me, it's I don't think that's going to happen, because I think fans are eventually going to be bro, I'm not following this guy around to 16. You know what I mean? Unless you're a LeBron level player, an incredible player. Are you following? Shoot, who am I thinking of? Do you think Fred VanVleet? If there's any that are listening, please don't be in my mentions about it. I don't know if he has 10, but do you think Fred VanVleet fans are following him around? Do you think Chris Paul stands are following him to the Warriors? I'm rooting for the Warriors now. I don't think that's happening.
Sure. Yeah, I think we've had this discussion before, and I hope you're right. I hope it leads to more, team kind of centric fans. Not that I have anything against, stans or how they go about it.
Root for whoever you want. It's just
whatever your relationship is to basketball, that's between you and basketball. But I think it's interesting. We had this conversation before where it feels transactional. When a player comes to your team, nothing against Suns fans, but what's your relationship with Kevin Durant, right? It's transactional is what it is, right? Your relationship with Mikal Bridges and Cam Johnson is a damn, like we won what, like 20 games, and then we got Chris Paul, and Chris Paul may be transactional as well.
Yeah.
There might be a little bit more, emotion to what he did for you guys, but and then it's like, well, no, you have to cut bait with Mikal Bridges and Cam Johnson to go get Kevin Durant. I get that from like
Right.
a winning, and Matt Ishbia gives no f's about what happened before, and nor should he. He bought the team for whatever he did. He has a right to cut it up in any way. But I think that's it. Like James Harden goes to the Clippers. Are Clipper fans like buying James Harden jerseys? Maybe,
Right.
like maybe there's a few,
Maybe.
but like the relationship isn't. Or even like you even see sometimes with Kawhi and the Clippers. Does Kawhi act like a guy who gives a whole bunch of f's about the Clippers, and
Yeah.
and feels like he bleeds whatever Clipper colors are? Kawhi, if they don't acquiesce to his needs, Kawhi will go and wear another jersey. And
Somewhere
when
else. Yeah.
he's I believe he has an out 23 or 24, 25. He has one more year, and they're gonna ask for a boatload of their. I think both of them are extension eligible this summer. Funny enough, but yeah, I think it's fascinating as well. And LeBron's been here long enough, I think, to where he's kind of more endued into Laker blood. But like, I mean, you could just feel it around the league. I feel like it sometimes it feels very transactional. And the Twitter thing, I think the NBA has tried to really jump on that in terms of kind of buying that type of engagement, right? Woj and Shams, they'll put 30 breaking news for like the 15th man got a training camp invite. It's like that's not breaking news. Like that's not urgent, And Shams will do the dun 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 and put on the Athletic, and it'd be like, yeah, this guy the two-way guy got a training camp invite. I'm like, man, that's not really breaking news or anything like that. But I think that NBA Twitter eats that up. Like it's just like that's it's more interesting than like actually going and watching tape of the 15 man and be like, oh yeah, what is he like? It's like, oh, we got this guy from, and so like I think it's an interesting relationship. But with the Harden stuff, I mean, I think it's gotten to the point where like I get Daryl Morey is going to have a hard line. I just think like you see James Harden and his asks and his requests. It's just I'm sure it's annoying for NBA fans, but Harden has done this 3 times already. Like you just mentioned the Houston one, the Brooklyn one. This feels a little different to me, Vinay, because the Sixers are good and they have like title aspirations, and even Joel Embiid was hinting at like maybe I can go somewhere else. Like, what are we doing?
That's my point. Like, no, obviously, Joel's committed a lot of years. He's had an MVP season last season, obviously with them. So it's like I'm definitely not knocking them for leaving. It's just for me now it feels like once you get that second contract, if it's a max extension or something like that, if you're in a situation where you don't feel like this team is really committed to trying to win, if that's your prerogative, if that's what you want as a player, and we know for a fact that there are many players in this league that are very happy with playing basketball, getting their stats, collecting their max contracts or near max contracts, whatever it is, and playing wherever they have to play. They don't care about the destination. They just want to do what they do. And if they happen to win a championship, great. But the money is so good that you have to really kind of filter through to figure out who actually really wants to win a championship, and who's just kind of okay with not doing that extra stuff to get there and stuff. And that's not for us to deal with. That's for franchises and front offices and owners to figure out how to deal with. But it's just like that's a great example of what I'm talking about. It's just like the cascading effect of what's going on. Like Dame asks out. So Jeremy Grant signs the contract, right? The max extension. Mm-hmm. Dame asks out. I'm already hearing Portland's like, yeah, as soon as that trade restriction passes for the extension, for the signing restriction that Jeremy Grant has, he's gone too. So it's just like I get it. It's good asset management. So I'm not knocking the front office for that. But at the same time, it's just like then you see Harden asks out, and then Embiid's like, well, I'll play wherever. I want to compete for championships, but I'll play wherever. So it's just like, what? Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I was gonna say, let's stick there real quick, all right? So, Vinay, you're Daryl Morey, okay?
Yeah.
You just traded Ben Simmons for James Harden, okay? Like you did that last summer. Last summer? Do I have my timing right? A summer and a half, right? Was that the deadline?
Yeah, summer and a half.
Summer and a half. Whatever it is, you traded a guy who literally won't play basketball for. I mean, I'm sure Ben Simmons has his reasonings for not getting on the court that I'm sure that Brooklyn Nets have some issue with, but it's not my issue. Whatever. You're Daryl Morey. You just traded for James Harden. You built my issues with Tobias Harris, but whatever. Like you build a team that's solid. You have Tyrese Maxey who's balling. You wake up one day and Joel Embiid does some interview where he says, "Yeah, Philly or wherever else." This is Joel Embiid, Game 7, Vinay. 5 for 18. Gets 5 for 18 from the field, 15 points on a game 7 in 38 minutes. Gets cooked defensively on switches. Only 6 free throws. Does not hit a 3-pointer. 0 for 4 from 3.
Yeah.
If I'm Daryl Morey, I'm like, hold on, like what am I supposed to do with that? Like we put you in the best position. So like I'm not standing up for ownership or GM sided with labor, almost all the time. I'm just like I'm not sure what the GM is supposed to do with that. Like you didn't come through. Like it like so that's the interesting part to me with the player movement and stuff like that. Like with Dame, like hey, we paid CJ McCollum. Like that's what you wanted. You couldn't win KD got hurt and you got swept by the Warriors in the conference finals. And like now we have to pivot because we paid Yusuf Nurkic, we paid CJ McCollum, and now you throw us a trade request after free agency ends. It's like, wait, hold on. Like, what are we? So sometimes I think about that and like, look, they should have built a better team around Dame. Like he's 33 now. You probably should have done that around 30, and maybe the moves need to be a little bit more, enhanced. But I think about that as well in terms of like, imagine Daryl Morey just plays the game 7 tape, when they have a meeting and like, you want to go somewhere else, huh? Like, what do we?
Yeah.
Like, what do we? I don't know what I don't know what the line is there.
But and then you could see the argument on going the other way too, right? Like more, especially on the Clippers side. If I was the Clippers GM, I'm like, all right, I don't like James clearly wants a contract extension. That's why he wants to come here because he thinks our owner is going to pay him, which he very well might, and the GM is willing to do it. But at the same time, if James's goal is to get a contract extension and not win a championship, then that also puts you in a complicated position. Like, why would I give up anything of significance to you, knowing that he wants to be here and knowing that maybe he won't even be a Clipper at the end of his tenure if we do trade for him, if he doesn't get exactly the contract that he wants. I don't know how strict his demands were. So it's just like, it's just weird that like, it feels like every offseason now, there's like one big standoff. Like this player wants to get traded or he wants some extension and, they're waiting it out. Like the other one that was going on, but quickly got resolved was the Draymond extension. Like everything that I had heard had said that he wanted a specific amount of money that the Warriors weren't able to do. And they ended up acquiescing by giving him the 4th year. So they spread out the cap hit so they could lower their tax hit for it. But it's just like, it's just kind of crazy to see that the theatrics like of it goes on. I honestly think that would be what the news is right now. Like I know we're saying it's dead right now, but like that would be the news that should be going on. Dame's been traded to Miami. Is Miami going to go back to the finals? Harden's been traded to the Clippers. They brought back Russ. They still have Kawhi. They still have PG. Like, assuming PG doesn't get moved himself, like that team is a super stacked team of talent. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I would argue that they could probably be the most talented team in the Western Conference with those 4 guys. But like, it's so strange.
And again, the whole reason we do this whole thing, Vinay, is for the playoffs. Like, it's the whole point of all of this. Like, and again, the Clippers' reasoning for the trade is obviously a regular season move. It's to up their floor, right? I believe it lowers their ceiling dramatically, in my opinion. But that you can argue that, whatever. I think it does help them in the regular season, which is, I guess, a reason to make the move. But here's again, like I'm Daryl Morey. Again, not to be in his shoes, but the Sixers played 11 playoff games this year. Okay, they swept Brooklyn, right? And then they played a 7-gamer with Boston. They only played 11 games. Here's some shooting stats from James Harden: 3 for 13, 4 for 18. That's just first round. All right, this isn't a sweep, by the way. So this is game 2 and 4. 3 for 13, 4 for 18. Game 1 is 8 for 21. I'll give it to him because he shot 13. He made 7 threes, so he went 1 for 14 from 2, which is, I guess whatever. They won that game. Here's some in the Boston series: 2 for 14, 3 for 14, 4 for 8, which is I think the game where he said he didn't get the ball enough. Whatever. 4 for 16, and then 3 for 11. Like, I'm sorry, like you don't get to go and then be like, hey, where's all my money? Or after that series, like what happened to shame in terms of like, hey, you know what? I didn't like hey, I didn't play well. Like I gotta go back and play. Remember last year it was like, oh, James Harden took less so that PJ Tucker could get a contract, which I always thought was ridiculous.
Do
But
you think because this was something that was on my title? So if you follow me, me and Roger talking about this before we launched the pod. Speaking of second options, do you think James Harden would be a better second option for LeBron James than Anthony
oh
Davis?
my god, dude, I just don't get it. We've seen this movie like 8 straight years, and yet still, like James Harden is going to just take up the whole summer. Like man, we all watched the same playoffs. We just saw it. We just watched him, just shit the bed for the 5th straight bed. Like he has to change the damn sheets every freaking year because he shits every bed that he's in. It's just like I really don't understand it, and if I'm Daryl Morey, I'm like, are you serious? Did we watch the same playoffs? Like the games were there. We just saw you like unable to come through again, and we gave you the ball. We didn't change the offense. And Doc Rivers, even after, who I'm sure he doesn't have a lot of fans, but was like, yeah, coaching James was kind of hard. James Harden's like in his 10th, 11th year. What do you mean that was hard? So it's just
it's
insane.
one thing I can say that I appreciate about the 2 stars that we do have, though the media circus that kind of comes around them is, it is what it is. It's also LA. It's part of the business. Like they both kind of don't cheat the game. Like they do. I complain about. We've talked about it before. Like AD has this crazy inconsistent motor that it's crazy for me to see, because he's just so much more. He's so talented. It's crazy to see that he has that. But everybody's human. They not everybody can play.
Sure.
With the motor that like Jimmy Butler has, or whoever you want to champion in that figure. But they're there. Like they are trying to win games. They're not trying to sell games. They're not trying to prioritize their contract extensions and their play behind their contract extensions because of it. They don't cheat the game. So I do respect that. But yeah, the joke I was trying to make earlier about the second option thing was what we were talking about offline. I figured there's a nice transition into it. Was there's some. Bruce Brown is still talking, dude. Like Bruce Brown has been talking the entire. He's not even with the Nuggets anymore. He's playing for. He's officially signed a contract with the Pacers, which is fine. The context is he's talking about how those series went. The question that he was asked is, what was the toughest team that you played against? Scouting the Lakers, all that sort of stuff. And so, one of the things that hit my timeline, and I usually don't respond to it because I don't like. I don't think it's worth. I think it's the series is over. It really doesn't matter. But even as I've been critical of AD's inconsistency, like I was able to recognize like his defense really catapulted us into the Western Conference Finals. Like without what AD was doing against Memphis, remember, like I think the first game, Rui actually led the Lakers with 29 points, but AD had like 7 blocks, some absurd number of blocks in that series. But AD was so good in those first 2 series defensively. And I think Memphis was the number 11 offense at the end of the regular season. And the Warriors, I want to say, were like the number 8 offense in the regular season. And the Lakers were like, a solid, I want to say they were a top 10 defense by the end of regular season, defensive rating wise and stuff like that. Like we weren't like a high octane offense by the end of the season, the Lakers. So we had to hang our hat on defense. And like AD played center all season. We almost never played him at the 4. He did what we asked him to do, which is play the 5, defend the rim, run the floor. And we made it to the Western Conference Finals. We lost to a team that had a 2-time MVP who was absurd. He was just dominating everybody on the way there. But like this thing that happens afterwards, and it's not, fan the way you want, whatever it is, that's fine. But like this thing that people go into where they keep thinking it's a singular issue. Like, oh, he didn't step up in this moment. That's why we didn't get there. But we had to get there. We had to like win all these games to get to the Western Conference Finals. Like that stuff matters. Like we have to get these games to single possession moments in the last 2 minutes of the games. I won't talk about who was missing the shots because then my mentions will go crazy over it. But like we had to get to that point. Everybody had to contribute in a certain way. And the thing that like I don't want to, irritating is not the right word because it's a negative word, but it's unfortunate that we reduce a guy like Anthony Davis down to, well, he just didn't step up in game 4, so that's why we didn't make it to the finals. And it's just like, it's clearly not true. Like he had 40 points in game 1. Nobody talks about the fact that he had 40 points in game 1. It's like it never happened. And we were in it, but other guys weren't able to step up and help us close out the game. But, do you think like I honestly think he is the best second option, short of maybe like a Giannis or a Jokic
Mm.
or maybe even an Embiid. Like I can't think of more than maybe three guys that can do what Anthony Davis can do, impact the game the way Anthony Davis can. Obviously, when he's healthy, and that's always the disclaimer we have for everybody. Like to pair with a guy like LeBron, like he's doing all the stuff that you want him to do defensively, and
Yep.
anchoring that defense.
Yeah, I think he's just a spark plug because the offense does come and go. I mean, it just like it is what it is. I think when your jumper just can't go in, like I think that's a tough spot to be in for a guy who's going to, play in a packed paint. I mean, the Lakers didn't have a crazy amount of shooting on the floor either. You had D'Angelo Russell struggles as well, and there are points where you can point to AD where there are points where he had to score on Jokic and he just could not, right? Like that, those are points in the series where you could be critical of. But man, I go back before that. Like we forget because feels like 10 years ago, but LeBron missed like 13 games in the final month of the season. We went, I believe, 8-5, or I think that's 12 or 13. Yeah, 8-5 during that stretch. That was a huge part. I mean, Anthony Davis played in those games. Those are gut-wrenching ball games. We were like, what, 13, 12, or trying to get above that like 7, 6 seed spot. So those are all like playoff level intense games. And he fought through that. And in my opinion, Vinay, he forced two teams to completely change what they do.
Absolutely.
Memphis and Golden State absolutely had to change everything that they were doing because Anthony Davis was on the floor. And really, yes, then when they went to pick and roll, yeah, you forced the Warriors to run an offense that they don't run like that. Obviously, they got more successful with the pick and roll, but I mean, like, you forced them to completely switch their style, which I think is the whole point. That's the whole point of what you're doing there. Memphis as well, obviously took them out what they're doing. Couldn't run all the stuff with John Morant because Anthony Davis's ability to switch and kind of take away that floater game. Obviously, they were missing their big men, which you can point to, but he was incredible. I mean, look at the numbers. I think it was like 26 and 12, averaged 2 blocks a game, which was 6 in the league. He missed like 26 games last season. So that was a pretty good benchmark for him to kind of continue on. But yeah, like that's why I wish, the 40-point game, gets forgotten, of course. And I think defensively, he kind of did his job for the most part. I thought, our offense from our shooting just was not there. We just could not get enough off the bounce shooting, and hopefully that's stuff that we address this summer with Gabe Vincent, and we'll see if Austin can take another leap. But yeah, man, I think it's easy to forget. That's why, like, close sweep feels like an oxymoron. Like, I don't even like saying it.
Doesn't
matter.
Like,
I don't like saying close sweep, but I mean, the context I think does matter. Bruce Brown, by the way, I don't know if anyone listened to that. He said Minnesota was their toughest matchup. It's like, come on, dude.
Yeah,
he's crazy. Like, come on, man. Like, you gave away that last game in Minnesota. I think they were already up, and then Anthony Edwards hit like 3 step back threes or something that forced that. That series was not that series was not close, but whatever. Bruce Brown the winners get to write the story. So Bruce Brown can say that Minnesota was the toughest matchup for them. But yeah, like the AD I think he's just polarizing. Number one, because how he plays, he's not very loud, or doesn't really he doesn't show a ton of emotion like AD does sometimes. But like, I mean, it's just, I don't know. I think he's like an easy spark plug to go at. Like, it's just you can point to the injuries, and then Laker fans can be like, well, I mean, if you compare his missed games to like other stars, it's actually on a lot more even level than you think. And obviously the media heads are very easy to kind of throw at him. I think Richard Jefferson came out right after the series, and it said this next, or I forgot when it was. I think it was after the free agency when everyone deemed the Lakers the winners. Richard Jefferson went like a 3-minute monologue how this is the biggest season of Anthony Davis's career. I'm like, hold on a minute. Like, we just watched the same. We just watched the same, and there were other people who reiterated that, which I thought was interesting to me. Like, after the conference finals run, which obviously ended in a manner that people are disappointed with. But I thought that was an interesting take from that. I was like, hey, Anthony Davis, like, it's your time to show that you need to come into camp in shape, and don't disrespect the Lakers organization. I'm like, man, this dude was incredible for like a huge stretch. Like, he had, Denver, went through us, but I mean, Denver ran through the whole league.
They ran through everybody. Yeah, I mean, Miami took games off of them, and they got some spectacular.
Miami took one game off of them, shot the shit out of the ball in game 2 in Denver. Other than that, Jokic ran through Bam, ran through AD. Ayton, forget about it. Like that, like Jokic, had an incredible title run. I think it was interesting. The conversation after was like, hey, Anthony Davis, like, now is your time. And I'm sure AD sitting at home like, wait, like we just like, you know, I thought I did all right in the
Yeah.
in the playoffs. So it is what it is.
Yeah, it's a fascinating thing because even behind the scenes, from what I've heard, like the Lakers are more than like they're ready to extend it. If there wasn't a time period where they had to wait to actually offer him the max extension, he'd already have that on his doorstep. So like the Lakers are happy with Anthony Davis. They know he's been injury prone, but a lot of those injuries have not been his fault. Like granted, he does sometimes come into camp out of shape, not camp, like into the season out of shape, and he gets small injuries here and there. But it's like you said, it's not anything more than what's happened with a lot of the other star players that are around the league. But he has shown you when he's healthy, when he gets his touches, like he can be a top 5, top 10 player. And I know a lot of Laker fans probably get tired of like if he's healthy, if he's this.
Sure.
I'm sorry, but that's like the same thing for like every single star in the league right now. When Kevin Durant is healthy, he's the best player, one of the best players in the league. When Kawhi is healthy, he's one of the best players in the league. Like you could say this about almost every single player. There are no players in the NBA, star players or very rare star players that are in like the top 10 that they aren't missing 15 games in a season, 15 to 20 games in a season for something. Load management, tweaked an ankle. Luka himself missed a couple of games. You know what I mean? Like Jokic has been pretty durable. He doesn't really, he's a big dude. He's kind of hard to hurt him, but he can still get hurt. But like,
Sure.
That's just this what it is with the league, and it's just the talent is just any talent is just there, and I think that's I think it's very short sighted to think that you could swap him out for somebody else and like you're going to get anywhere near the same level of replicate the same kind of defensive effort at least. Like I said, you've got to get either Embiid or Giannis. And that's it. Like I can't think of like Jokic's not really the same kind of defender. Obviously, he's a superb offensive talent, but like you can't swap AD with like James Harden, and the Lakers are still a good defensive team. You know what I mean? Like you're not swapping him with Kyrie Irving. Like the Lakers would be a catastrophic defensive team if they make that swap.
Also, I like that you just said can't compare him to Embiid and Giannis. They're supreme offensive talents. I think that's like I think that's the reason that this Spark Plug comes to most because AD is not this heliocentric offensive big man, right? And that's kind of what he gets compared to. He's like the Embiid, the Jokic's, and then you bring him and then Anthony Davis when he's healthy. That's kind of how the term comes, right? On when you watch these shows, it's like it's Embiid, it's Jokic, and it's Embiid, and then it's Anthony Davis when he's healthy. It's kind of how the phrasing of it is, and I think and Giannis obviously gets put into there. Giannis, I think, is seen more as the wing type now in terms of where he's gone in his career. Again, all those guys have the ball in their hands, and they're incredible at it. I think that's what they do, and AD's not on their, I guess, quote unquote level in terms of that offensive kind of output, and a guy you could just give the ball to and run a bunch of DHOs out of. You could do some of that, but that's not where he's best at. He's best as like a rolling kind of big man who kind of operates your defense, and I think that's fine. That's more than good enough as your second option. I think you can fill out your offense in other ways, but I think that's the main reason, Vinay, that like he gets put very quickly into these spark plug kind of places where people just look at him as like, well, you're not Embiid. Go look at Embiid's, by the way, playoff numbers. Like I think people will be surprised especially for a big man. It's tough. Like when you have to get the ball at that like pinch post every single time because Embiid's not bringing the ball up. It's really tough unless you're like Jokic, Jokic is a threat from everywhere. Also one of the best passers that probably have ever lived. Like those are very generational type of skills where I think it's unfair to be like, AD's not at that level. Wait, and he doesn't have to be. He has LeBron James on his freaking team. Like he doesn't have to, fill that kind of offensive role. But I also think like it's okay to like be like, hey, Anthony Davis, we need some sort of jump shot next year. It doesn't have to be a three.
Sure. Yeah.
At least that mid-range jumper and all those floaters and stuff. That's stuff that we're gonna need when the time comes. But that dude was a monster on defense. The Lakers are nowhere near even the playing game without his contributions. But again,
he had that play. I forgot in that Warriors series where like he defended a shot or he defended a shot at the 3-point line. It was that DiVincenzo putback that he blocked, like he came from behind and blocked it, like as time was expiring or something. That was a play like where he helped defend. I want to see he helped defend on the perimeter where he was like out of position because he was trying to cover for a teammate, and then he hustles back in time to block a shot, like to prevent like an easy layup from going in. It was a very small moment.
Yep.
But it's just like, bro, you're not getting that effort from somebody else, like another tier of star that's that high. And Braun is not doing that. I don't care what anybody says. Like, he's 40 years old. He's going to be 40 in December or something. Like, he's not doing that. So if you think you could just add a guy who's going to take over like Braun's offensive responsibilities and now Braun's going to just focus on defense, that's not happening. Like, he did that, actually. You and I talked about it in the playoffs. Like, when Austin Reeves was going off and Rui was going off, that helped Braun because then Braun could conserve his legs for defense in those second lineups with AD off the floor. But that's not happening for an 82 game season, and it's not happening with him as like the primary guy in that regards. So it's just like, I get it. You know, we're unhappy that we didn't win a championship, and you know the Denver players, but to the victor goes the spoils. But it's just like, at the same time, like, it doesn't need to be so reactionary. It doesn't have to be like, got to get him out of here. You know what I mean? Like, if they extend him, I'm not going to be unhappy. I'm going to be extremely happy because, like, I would want to keep a guy who can be a top 5 talent, you know, on the team and stay healthy.
And he's gonna get his extension. I think like that's been reported kind of widely, as he should. You know, stars of that ilk and that talent usually do. Again, like, you look at, I mean, we lost 2 games to Houston because Anthony Davis couldn't suit up. I mean, just like, he fills so many needs and holes, and he covers for so much that you can kind of lose sight of that and kind of look directly at the offensive output. And, you know, look, his box scores sometimes aren't great. Vinay, like, I think both of us have said this. Like, there are times where you need to shoot 20 times. Like, you can't be 4 for 11. Like, there's some nights where you do have to be aggressive. Like, you can't kind of just, you know, give it up to the guards just because they asked for it, kind of thing. You have to be a little bit more assertive with your offensive output. But again, like, I think he's so consistent on defense that you kind of lose sight of that. And it's very easy to go look at, you know, all the other stuff, like where he can be better. But I mean, honestly, you have the best defensive player, in my opinion, in basketball, suiting up for you every night. And I think that's how it should be framed. Not whenever he plays, obviously, but like, I think that's how it should be framed. Instead, like I said, we get these monologues of Anthony Davis, like, you have to prove it. It's
that's
like,
crazy. That's so crazy.
What guy who's won the title and, you know, done that has to kind of, you know, continue to prove that every summer. So it's just the way I think he's going to be. And what I like is I don't think he gives a crap about that. Like, I don't think he listens to that or cares. It's interesting to watch how he's covered.
Yeah, I feel like the rapport between him and LeBron is probably much better than that. Like, even if people that are in Bron's circle are saying, you know, AD, this is prove it year for AD, I don't think Bron's actually trying to position itself that way. I don't feel most Lakers fans feel that way either. But that's a nice. Yeah, this is a nice. The topic of Bron not wanting to cheat the game, AD, you know, not taking a leap, but, you know, players taking a leap. Obviously, we have a new roster and stuff like that. It kind of leads nicely into the main 2 points that I want to discuss, which was regular season, surviving regular season, very specifically. And the reason why I picked this topic is because I've seen a lot of people, like, even with just the 14th roster spot on for the team, be like, well, you have to get a guy that can play in the playoffs. And it's kind of crazy because it's like, okay, this is the 14th roster spot. There's almost guaranteed that person's not going to play significant minutes in the playoffs. But Laker fans are very devoted. They want to keep all their options open. So I get why they say that. But we do have to survive the regular season. And the Lakers are, I don't want to say uniquely positioned, but they are uniquely positioned because of LeBron and his age. He is a fantastic player. I don't expect him to slow down. I expect maybe his athleticism to dip a little bit. We saw that happen a little bit with his first step this past season, even before the foot injury. We've seen that he's, for some reason, stopped getting calls at the rim. That's just like a weird league-wide thing. Like, we've lost games because they just didn't make obvious calls at the rim. You know, the Boston game comes to mind. But, like, we have to survive regular season. And the West has become more competitive. Even if Dame gets traded and Harden gets sent to the Clippers, like, Phoenix has made moves. Utah has made moves. Denver has made moves. They lost Bruce Brown, but they've added guys around the margins. So, like, all these teams are looking to compete. OKC is going to get Chet Holmgren back. So they're, you know, I'd expect them. They're right on the cusp of making the playoffs. I'd expect them to be there too as well. Like, it's going to get more competitive. So these regular season games are going to matter now because you're not going to be able. I think Lakers won. They got in with what they did, but they still won like over close to 45 games, I want to say. Like, you're going to have to win 50 games to secure a playoff spot. You're not going to
Yeah.
be able to get in on 45, 44, 46 games. You're going to be fighting for your life in the playing games if you don't get close to 50 games. So we have to survive regular season. I don't see LeBron turning around and playing only 20 minutes a game. Like, I think he's going to skip
No.
all the back-to-backs. I think the last game of a road trip or the last 2 games of a road trip or something like that, he's probably not going to play those games. But I don't see him playing less than 30 minutes a game or 32 minutes a game. Like, I think he's going to do that. And I think the fact that he's coming out and he's saying, yeah, I'm not going to cheat the game, that's him saying, yo, I'm not going to play less minutes, just like unless my health is saying I'm playing less minutes. So it's like a lot of people are like, oh, yeah, well, Anthony Davis has to step up. Anthony Davis, like, he has a teammate that's making just as much money, if not more money than he is, that also wants to play basketball. So Anthony Davis can't just take the keys from LeBron. They have to work together. But at the same time, we have to survive the regular season. What do you think about this idea of, like, you just have to get ready for the playoffs? And like,
Yeah.
I feel like now, like, you know, like the pendulum swing is happening now. You know, we talk about people being fans of teams, then they become fans of players. That's always going to exist. And now maybe the pendulum swings back because of too much player movement. But there's a pendulum swinging back now where we went from regular season doesn't matter, or regular season matters because you want home court, to LeBron James is in the league and it doesn't matter where he's at, he's going to win the game. So now everybody's just like, regular season doesn't matter. But now it's swinging back because Denver bodied, you know, they were one of the best home teams in the league. What do you think about that? Does regular season matter?
You know, I always thought it matters. Like, I thought this idea that it didn't was kind of overrated. Like, to me, you can't just, like, again, the Lakers got in at the 7th seed, I believe. I think that's just too much of like, the regular season is already a grind.
Yeah.
You doubled it, right, by starting your playoffs 3 months early. Like, you were in a kind of double playoff grind before you even played game 1 against Memphis, which, again, the Lakers played great. They always had a new roster. But to me, I think you actually need a top seed. Like, Denver was able to rest their guys from the last month of the season. And I thought that showed out, especially in the conference finals when the legs are completely gone. A team that's more fresh, a team that was able to mentally, you know, relax the last month of the season, get themselves ready for a run. I think all that matters. And look, the Lakers are going to have to battle with, I mean, LeBron James's age is what it is. I mean, that's I'm not going to say it's the elephant in the room, but I mean, that's kind of the most loudest voice there is getting him through that grind and getting it through it with a winning record. And I think that's kind of why you see all these contracts doled out to get the roster as deep as it can be, a bunch of wings. I don't think that's an accident to fill in for, you know, if LeBron has to sit out and load manage. Anthony Davis, I'm sure they're going to try to find another big man to kind of complete the roster and kind of fill out whenever he needs. But I think they're going to need AD to play a ton of games. They're going to need LeBron to play a bunch of games. Like, it's just the NBA is, I mean, you see this with the Clippers as well. I feel like today where they try their best. They do it. I think they do it as scientifically perfect as you could, right?
Yeah.
They scientifically got Kawhi through the regular season. I think they ended with the 5th seed, if I have that correctly.
Yeah.
Because I believe Phoenix had home court. And again, Kawhi just wasn't ready still. Paul George, even with all the load managing, still ends up just not playing throughout the playoffs. I think the regular season is completely matters. I think the continuity you build. Look at the last, I think, couple of championships. I mean, you have the Bucks. I think they were high seed. The Warriors came out, I think, like 18-2 or something during the year that they won the title. Obviously, the Denver Nuggets were the 1 seed all year. Before that, the Lakers in 2020 were the 1 seed for the whole year in the West. I don't remember who won it before we did. I believe the Raptors were really good the whole year. I believe they had home court. They had home court in the finals. I do remember that.
Yeah.
So yeah, like I think this idea that home court never mattered was always fluky. I mean, yeah, it didn't matter in the East. LeBron was running through those Eastern Conference teams, and maybe you could kind of make the argument there. But I think the league is just too good, and I think home court, and not just home court. I mean, that's kind of, we see game 1s lost every single time. I mean, I like, to me, it's not the home court. It's the continuity of going through a regular season and winning a bunch of games and understanding what you run. You know, when it's winning time, and you watch Denver. To me, I think the most biggest thing for them was they knew exactly what they're doing in crunch time. There was no confusion. There was no who gets the ball, none of that. It was Jamal Murray, Jokic, screen and roll. And
two-man game, yeah.
And we've run this 50 million times, and it's worked a shit ton, and we know every defensive coverage, and we know our counter to it. And to me, that's stuff that you can't buy. Like that's priceless stuff that you need a regular season or even years for them. Actually, the case with them, and I think that's important. Like I've never wavered from the fact that the regular season not only just matters, but it's vital and crucial to win the title. What do you think?
Yeah, no, I think the regular season, I think it's always mattered. I think it's just not mattered because of the coverage. I think people in
Mm,
media have made it so that it doesn't matter because, and honestly, like credit to LeBron. LeBron's been so good that like he could walk into any series. You know, Atlanta Hawks were one of the best teams in the East. Braun goes there. I think they sweep them or
hmm
something crazy like that. Same thing with the Raptors. Raptors were a high seed. Braun goes there. So I think I think too many people have looked at a very anomalous situation with how good LeBron was as a basketball player, managing his health, knowing what he had to do to get ready for the playoffs, and then thought that that is the norm because he went to the finals like 8 times in a row. So like,
Yeah,
or however many times he went in a row, like that's going to warp people's perspectives. So when it comes to him as an individual player, as a like him getting himself ready for the playoffs, it doesn't matter. The regular season doesn't matter. But for the rest of the Lakers team, it absolutely does matter. Like
yeah,
we have to take the regular season seriously. We have to build good habits. We have to have a good process. We have to know what wins look like. Um, I know a lot
yeah,
of Laker fans like they hate the idea of like moral victories when we lose games. But like winning close games matters in the regular season because you have to know what the hell you're gonna do in those situations when like all like honestly like obviously the Denver series went the way it did, but the entire not the entire Denver series, the first 3 games of that Denver series, the games went down basically shot for shot. In all regular season, the way the Lakers ended their games, okay, the way that we ended our games was LeBron taking those contested threes. And
yeah,
it wasn't every single game, but there were a lot of games where that's how the game ended. And LeBron didn't have a good 3-point shooting season, especially on his pull up, sidestep, whatever three ball that he was taking. And that's what we went to against Denver, like because that's what we did in the regular season. Obviously, that's because we didn't have the roster that we needed to have in order for us to like run stuff or do anything different. But like literally what we saw happen in the regular season in end game scenarios is also what we saw happen. Like Anthony Davis falling asleep on coverages. We literally saw that happen in the play-in game situation when he
yeah,
fouled Mike Conley, you know what I mean, on the three. Like, and he had a brain fart, I think is what Braun called it. Like, the regular season is a decent predictor of what you think will eventually happen. I remember when we went into the Denver series, we did our series preview. I remember we were discussing like D'Lo is going to have to step up
yeah,
because Russ was part of those teams, part of the wins that we had against Denver. Russ was just attacking the rim over and over and over again because he knew Jokic couldn't guard him. Somebody has to do that, and it can't be LeBron because Bron's going to get checked by Aaron Gordon, and somebody else is going to help off to prevent him from getting to the rim. So it has to be a guard that does it. And I think Austin Reeves tried to do it a little bit to some degree, but we just couldn't replicate that. If anything, the exact opposite happened. D'Lo got played off the floor. He got out physical and played off the floor. And so, like, it's always mattered. I just think like the way not fans, like the way analysts would talk about it, like the basketball analysts, both in national media and the folks on here, they made it seem like it didn't matter. And I think it was just specific. It was only because of Braun, not in a bad way, but because he's such an anomaly that he could get away with it because he's such a great player that people thought that's just how it is, and that's just not how it is. Like it's never worked that way. And the Lakers have to be serious about it in the regular season yet
yeah.
again.
And I think the play-in kind of did a little bit of a service to this as well, right? You have so many teams with the chance to make the playoffs. Like you're not out of it as soon as you usually are, right? Like because you have the play-in spot, so 7 through 10 can teams 9 10 seed can at least, or is 11 and 12 as well. I forgot exactly how it works. Been a while,
Yeah.
but like yeah, like at least like there's way more teams that are kind of involved, with the play-in, and I think that kind of has devalued the regular season to where, yeah, like, we can be 10 games behind in December and still have a shot. And I think that's kind of blinded people in terms of what you actually need to win the title. You still need all the continuity. But I thought something interesting. Zach Lowe brought this up in his podcast, and I went and looked at the numbers. Austin Reeves, LeBron, and AD played more minutes in the playoffs than they did in the regular season together. That's an insane number, by the way. They played
More
around
minutes
400.
in the playoffs together than they did in the regular season. That is,
Yeah.
yeah, that is definitely crazy.
So yeah, so they played around like 460 minutes or something like that in the playoffs. I think they played like 300 something in the regular season. That's insane, by the way.
Yeah.
That's a incredible number. I think that shows more kind of where we were as a team. But like so I was looking, the guy that LeBron played next to the most was Pat Beverly and Dennis Schroeder. Patrick Beverly obviously not on the team. 500 minutes together, in the regular season. So I think that kind of tells you where the regular season was for the
Yeah.
Lakers and kind of how turbulent it was. I think that's just an insane number. So yeah, I think it matters. I think next season that's the whole thing that they're betting on cohesion. And D'Angelo Russell, I know, is a polarizing player, but I think he is a
Yeah.
floor raiser. Like, he gives you a
For
regular
sure.
season guard to put out there. Gabe Vincent again. We'll see how he contributes, and hopefully Austin, LeBron, and AD can kind of gain more chemistry. But all that stuff matters, man. Those it's been for a while. I think the 1 or 2 seed wins the title, and that's not by accident. Those are very meaningful kind of numbers there to me, where you can kind of build cohesion, and when the most stressful moments come, you kind of know what you're running and you know what you're doing, and there's no confusion. And like you talked about, we had like LeBron step back threes as our offense, because we had nothing cohesive kind of built yet, which makes, to me, the Memphis and Warriors wins even more impressive. Like that to
Yeah.
me, to beat those teams with the lack of cohesion that we had. But yeah, it's interesting, man. I think the regular season definitely matters, and we have this not play in tournament cup, like NBA Cup, which is supposed
Oh
to
yeah.
incentivize the regular season
In-season
more.
tournament, man. Yeah.
Mid-season tournament, I have my concerns about it actually doing that, but I applaud the league for at least trying
I
to
think
get these teams to care.
Yeah, I think like the time of year, it's like early December. Like I'm gonna see if I can try and make it out to Vegas to see if I can watch it, because it'll be
Vegas,
like
yeah,
yeah, it'll be the inaugural thing. But look, it just like everything else, it's all about. It's not so much about like, dude, the players, if they could have it, they'd play like they'd love to get $50 million and only play 10 games in the entire season. Okay, and that, frankly, like that, even we would be like that if we could do,
sure,
instead of a 40-hour work week, if we could do a 5-hour work week or even a 1-hour work week and get paid full salary, we'd love to do that too as well. And so like the players are always going to be like, if Twitter doesn't like something, I like the immediate reaction, as long as it's not like something racist or offensive or something like that, like doesn't like something when it comes to the NBA, like I actually like wait to see. Because I'll be like,
sure,
oh, this might end up being good. Because if Twitter doesn't like it, then there's probably a good chance that they've thought this out and might be good. It's like the players obviously won't like it because they got to go travel. But if the fans are into it, if it adds like an air of like, sudden deathness to it, like, oh, it's a
yeah,
championship game in the middle of December. I just saw that my brother was telling me the other day today. He was just like, oh, they give out since when did they give out championship rings for summer league? I was just like, oh, I didn't even know that they were doing that, but apparently they do. Like they give
hmm
out, the Cavs won it, so they had it. So it's like, this is the direction the NBA is going in. Like we're going to give trophies for all kinds of random things and rings but this stuff, is to drive up attention. Like this kind of stuff may
yeah,
matter, to players that they did that. I'm not saying it's equal weight to anything else, but like I'm going to go watch it. Like if I can make it out in person, I'm going to go try and watch it. If I can, I'm going to watch it and just see, like, maybe incentives aside, we just talked about how all these teams in the West are going to be crazy. Like
oh yeah,
it's going to be like they have these games also matter towards playoff seeding. So you
yep,
have to win these games. It's not like you're not going to take them seriously. So it's just, maybe the venue being in Vegas will add some more glamour to it for some of these guys. Again, this is an event where all of these teams are going to be in like playing out of like the same arena. You know what I mean? So
yep,
like imagine the summer league vibes, but in December, maybe. Like who knows? Like
yeah,
first weekend of summer league was spectacular. Like it's awesome. I think Josiah tweeted out that it's better
yeah,
than All Star Weekend. I would agree. First weekend of summer league is way better than probably any All Star Weekend that you've ever been to.
yeah.
So I'm going to be excited to see what that looks like.
Yeah, I can't speak on that. I've never been to an all-star, weekend, so I wouldn't know. But summer league first weekend is definitely great.
Yeah.
Seeing the kind of uptick in fan attendance and all that. Look, I go in with an open mind. I think the play-in got similar kind of
Negativity. Yeah.
negative remarks to begin, and I think it's won over almost everybody because they saw
Yeah.
what um, elimination basketball looks like in terms of a one-off. I think that's great. I think the plan has other kind of factors that have kind of messed with the regular season in other ways, but I think it's overall a success. And like, I'm open to the mid-season tournament. I'm skeptical that players will care
Fair.
like more than normal. But I mean, they were gonna do that anyway. Like, you weren't gonna. There was no arbitrary number that you could create where like the superstars are gonna care
Yeah.
of what the winning prize is. I don't think that's the point. Gabe Vincent kind of spoke to this on like the JJ Redick podcast, where they're actually giving more money than he made for reaching the NBA Finals, which is interesting, which is fascinating. Kind
Yeah.
of, you think about. I mean, he played a ton more games there. This playing tournament's like a few games, I believe. There's like a semifinal and a final, so I think that's interesting. But
But
yeah, I'm open
Raj,
to it.
honestly, it gives NBA fans more fans on social media something to argue about. Like,
Yeah, sure.
it's like, yeah, we kicked your ass in the in season tournament. You know what I mean? Like, we're not worried about you in the like. I can already see it happening.
Oh, that's a good one. Okay.
Some role player like going bananas in like one of the elimination games and winning the championship, and now like it opens everybody's eyes. Like, again, it's an opportunity for role players to make a
Yeah,
name for themselves. You know what I mean? Like, in a high stakes game and whatever. So we'll see what happens. But the reason why I was bringing it up is we have to survive. It's within the context of surviving the regular season. Like, these games, the NBA is trying to make them matter in different ways. But as a Laker fan, this sort of matters. LeBron aside, because LeBron can manage himself well enough. But that kind of leads us into training camp, and it's still very early to talk about training camp. What we'll hear from it and stuff like that. But we have some very clear cut training camp battles that are about to happen once the Lakers hit training camp in a couple of months. And
yeah,
there are a couple that we don't have to go into very deep detail. We'll probably save the episode because we've already gone for so long on a bunch of different things. But there are some that I think we should bring up in terms of just to think about, and one that has clearly been showing up over and over again, or not over and over again, but one that's crossed my mind that we discussed before. We just signed Rui to an extension. He's going to get $16-17 million a year. And Vando is obviously in a contract year coming
yes,
up. Vando started for the Lakers, was a seamless fit defensively next to LeBron and AD. Obviously, his warts sort of showed up in the playoffs. But now we're paying Rui. Rui's getting a lot of money.
yeah.
It may not make sense. There could be a part of it where it's like you're getting paid too much to come off the bench. That might be a training camp battle that shows up.
Oh
Rui's
yeah,
challenge may be to replicate, what Vanderbilt is able to do defensively. He can't go out on the wings and guard guys the way Vanderbilt does. They're built differently physically. But that might be a training camp battle
oh
that
yeah,
might come up. And then the other one that I've thought about is the one that, I don't think folks have talked about. There's two sides. Max Christie had a phenomenal summer league. But Cam Reddish is pretty talented too. I don't think they're going to compete with each other for minutes. I could definitely see them playing together at the same time at the 2 and the 3, alternating in the wing spots. But that may be a training camp battle that comes up. What do you think? Is there a training camp battle in your mind
yeah.
that you think about that's worth
Well,
talking about?
I'll just touch quickly on the Christian Reddish because we have a lot of time for that. I
Yeah,
just feel like, to me, that's a good problem. Like, I watch Max Christie play, and I feel like he understands exactly what his role is.
yeah,
Cam Reddish to me is I need to see kind of what he believes his role is on this team. And that's a good problem to have. And Max Christie and Cam Reddish are both good and are playable rotation guys. It's a good problem. So I'll leave that. I think the Vando Rui one is interesting because I think, first of all, there was the huge conversation. We don't have to get into it, but it kind of dominated. We didn't talk about it, but like the Vando Christian Wood kind of thing. We don't have to get into that at all.
yeah. That was a little bit, yeah.
I get that in a vacuum in terms of player archetype, but you just brought up getting through a regular season. To me, like, that's where the word motor comes in. Like, to me, that's, you need high motor players. Vanderbilt, I think that's one of his greatest, strengths is his motor. He plays hard as hell. Like, does he shoot well? No. If he shot well, he wouldn't be on the Lakers. He would not. He's not a part of the three players that you're getting back. But I think his defense, like, he's the only guy. Vinay, like, we forget these things because they just. Brandon Ingram used to cook us, like, in disgusting ways, throw us on the grill and just burn us every time. I think Vanderbilt's the only guy we really have that can guard those types, those like big scoring wings. we put Vanderbilt and Luca. Again, all this stuff gets kind of lost, but like those are huge. Not saying he's stopped Luca, obviously, but at least made it enough to where it makes him think and stay with his dribble. Tenacity, loves defense. I think those are stuff that are hard to kind of quantify. So, like I've heard that Rui may start because of his dollar amount. I mean, that could be a fair thing. I just think like I loved our starters with Vando in there, and I think like with Reeves, D'Lo, should be at least enough shooting. Like we'll see with where LeBron's jumper is, but uh, I think that's a fair camp battle. That I don't think Rui's contract dollar should matter very much. Maybe it will. I don't know. But I'm fine with Rui off the bench. What do you think? Am I crazy for thinking Vanderbilt like could still get that starting position? I just think like he feels more like you've said this a lot, and I think it's pointed that Rui is kind of a very great LeBron replacement. Not that they can they can't play together, because obviously they absolutely could. I just think in the regular season, I love the differentiating of skill sets to me. Like if Vando kind of gives you all the stuff you need to me around heliocentric star offensive players. But what do you think?
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I think it'll be an interesting battle. I wonder if, part of paying Rui the amount they wanted, a lot of Laker fans thought that he was worth less money. Like they thought he'd get like the taxpayer MLE level, and I was just like, no, he's going to get more than that. He's not getting that low of a number. He is a natural sub. If they can sell him on, and he might have already been sold on it because he got his contract and he's happy with that. Like if they could sell him on just being Bron's natural sub, I think that's the best role for him. For me, it's just like regular season, you don't expect people to game plan for you, but it's just, Lakers is kind of weird. Like teams see us and they're like, no, we have to really make a example out of this team. And like, I would hate to see Vando not get looks, not to be ignored from the jump, when teams try to play Lakers in the regular season, and that worked against him. Again, I think he'll try to be more of an offensive threat. He recently, as an aside, posted something about like being taller, and I was like, I don't think you're taller. Like, I don't know how old he is, but I was just like, I think you've kind of passed the age threshold where you continue to grow a couple inches. But people are like, yeah, if he's 6'10", I'm like, bro, if he's 6'10", I don't think he's 6'10". I wouldn't be surprised if both of those guys stood out. Like if we heard about improvements from Vando and Rui. I am actually going to be very curious to see, if what that Gabe Vincent, D'Angelo Russell sort of thing works out to be. I don't think D'Lo is at risk of losing his starting spot. But I thought it was kind of strange that it was positioned like that. Like there would be a battle for that spot. You and I have shared a conspiracy, or I've shared a conspiracy theory that, it's also possible that D'Lo may not be on this roster, by 2024 because of the kind of deal that he signed. It seemed like it was just one of those deals where it's like, okay, we'll give you something that's like not an insult to who you are as a player, but and this will allow us to buy us more time to find a destination, or your agency to find a destination for you. So like that, I thought that was interesting that it was positioned that way. I don't think he's at risk of losing his position. But to answer your question, to add to your point, like we need these guys for regular season. Yeah. Like Rui has to be a natural sub for LeBron because like Bron is going to sit out games. We need Rui to get used to, I'm coming off the bench when Bron plays, and then when Bron's out, I just sub in. Like I'm just starting for LeBron, and I'm playing next to Vando, and we have to learn how to play together and stuff like that. So I think we have to learn. That's going to be one of the biggest things. Again, we're so far away from the start of the season, but this team is going to have to learn how to play with each other, through training camp, different lineup combinations, whoever the backup center ends up being. I think a report recently came out that Rob is looking for more of a defensive-minded five, a bruising five, a rim-protecting five, not a floor-spacing five, not a Mo Bamba type, more of a Dwight Howard type, for lack of a better example. Sure. And that might be because the Lakers are thinking we're going to play Max Christie and Rui and Cam Reddish or Taurean Prince. We're going to play four wings together. So we just need a five that can, defend shots at the rim and have all these guys switch on the perimeter. It'll be fun to see what Ham can come up with and that defense can come up with.
Yeah, for sure. And like, no, you can't even say D'Lo without someone following it up by saying that's a very tradable contract. Like it's almost got like it
I
doesn't
mean,
matter
it is
who.
what it is. Yeah,
It
it
hundred
is what it
percent
is.
is like, and my mind has a tough time separating like, hey, like this is a tradable contract, and also like, hey, can we like see the season first before you're already people are already like, yeah, that's a rarely tradable contract. I'm like, yeah, I understand that, but and look, Rui's deal is also, I mean, 3-year 51 is a very movable deal. You
Very
can throw
movable.
Vando's deal, whatever, if you want to in there to kind of
I
make
mean,
money work.
honestly, all the role player deals are
Hundred
very
percent.
movable. Yeah,
And
like
and
so.
and that's not an accident. Like that's
Yeah,
obviously very purposeful. Gabe Vincent is not crazy money either. 3 years,
yeah.
33. You can move that, so that gives them a lot of flexibility. I just again like I want to see the team first before already shipping these guys off to wherever. But no, these camp battles I think will be really fun, and I think like you said this show, Reeves, AD, and LeBron should be the only starters that are
Yeah.
in Pan. Really, everyone else should like D'Lo included in this. Like I think he's gonna win the starting battle. I just whether that's through his game or through the politics of it, I think D'Lo is gonna be the starting point guard on day
For
one.
sure.
But I still think that all those should be more than healthy competitive matchup. The Reddish Max Christie one for sure. I also think both of those can somehow be in the rotation if you want. Play Max as the backup 2. You can put Reddish as a backup 3 in some spot minutes. Torian Prince is a part of this as well. Another wing that we signed. So I think there's going to be a fun, healthy, competitive nature to it. This team should be deep. Team should have a ton of guys that get minutes. It should be scoring, should be spread out. Like that's the whole point of you building a 12, 13 man, deep roster. So we'll see. The center spot will be interesting. I have less concerns when I have the backup 5 in a regular season
Yeah.
manner versus a playoff manner, and I think the Lakers feel the same way. I'm not sure they'll rush into anything. Maybe you said this before, Tristan Thompson maybe gets a non-guaranteed deal or something like
Non-guaranteed
that
deal.
through
Yeah, I've
to
heard
to kind of to
murmurings
offset
about
it.
that. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
very safe, right? And I just don't think people are knocking on Tristan Thompson's door as well as he played in
He's
Game 4 of the playoff.
he's a very good. I've heard that he is a great. Obviously, he's a Braun guy. He's a clutch guy. Like he went on ESPN, and the first thing he did was just start talking about LeBron. But we know clutch guys are very loyal to their group, and that's
Sure.
that's amazing what they've built up from the ground up and stuff like that. And so it makes sense by that way. But I've also heard he's a great locker room guy. Like he
Yeah.
keeps guys involved, keeps guys accountable. And frankly, if I was Tristan Thompson and I have nothing else to do, why not go sit on the Laker bench and grab rebounds and be in the Laker facility and be around the people that I like and stuff like that. So I think I like that. I'm going to be very surprised. I'm not surprised. I'll be very curious who they end up finding. There's not that many big bruising centers. I wonder if they're going to wait for the fallout after like maybe the Dame trade happens, Harden trade happens, to see if there's anybody that kind of becomes available. Yeah, the Vando Christian Wood thing, like I understand what people are saying, but it's just it for the sake of what we're trying to do, like I think we're pretty set on all that sort of stuff. Adding more scoring, isolation scoring and all that sort of stuff. But
Yeah.
Raj, did you have anything extra you want to mention?
I guess last thing closed. Dave McMenamin went on the low post and
Yeah,
he said he wouldn't be shocked if Jackson Hayes started kind of like pushing this. Basically he framed it as this is what Anthony Davis wants. Now I feel like that's a old take. Like I feel like that take has aged. Like Anthony Davis just played a season where he played 95 to 98% of his minutes as center. Like I,
yeah.
I, I think this idea that he wants to be the power forward solely is kind of a take that's should be in the past. But this was a recent show. Are you giving any validity to that, to where Jackson Hayes compare Jackson Hayes to JaVale McGee? And I understand it, right? Very um players who are pretty much just athletic. They're out there for their athletic prowess and
Yeah,
very
yeah,
much,
for
not
sure.
much else.
He's he's
So
kind of he's kind of big Vando. Like he's kind of the way you think of him. He doesn't have a jumper, but he does cut the way Vando cuts. Obviously, he can't get around. He's too big. He can't get around screens and stuff like that. The way Vando, he's like a center sized Vando is really because of how his agility is and stuff like that. That's what
yeah,
I think of.
can
The
switch a little
idea,
bit.
yeah,
But
the idea of him being our starting center, or basically us going back to okay, so we'll save. without getting too much into it, well, if that does happen, if we find out
Sure.
that we get more noise behind that, we'll definitely discuss it in
I just
much
want to know if
deeper detail.
if you see any if you're giving any validity to that, I guess, as an idea of what could be.
I wouldn't be surprised if they floated it. I wouldn't be surprised if if there has been a conversation internally with the team, like with AD and like Darvin Ham or Rob or whoever it is, because McMenamin's like, I mean, I dog on McMenamin a lot. Rightfully so, by the way, to defend myself. There are some things I can dog on him about, but
plugged in. We'll say that.
he's plugged in. Like, okay, I'm just going to say this. If there's any shred of validity to that statement, I really hope LeBron's 3 ball has come back, and I really, really hope Anthony Davis finds his jumper, because if they don't, that is going to be very, very difficult. It'll be a huge lineup. It'll be rim protecting like a mofo, but like in a league that prefers to take threes, set up open threes as opposed to even going to the rim, especially in the regular season. Team players don't want to go to the rim; they just want to take threes. Like, I don't know if we'll have the shooting to keep up with other teams. We'll have a fantastic defense, but shooting will be kind of a tricky issue. So if they do it, I hope that jump. It doesn't have to be bubble shooting for AD,
Sure.
but league average jump shooting, at least from AD and LeBron.
Yeah, I guess the only point is that I guess you're placing Hayes in my scenario, Hayes for Vando, and you're not really losing much shooting, I guess, there, right? In terms of like, but I do think like Vando has just a bunch of other on ball skills and kind of can bring it up. And I know Hayes is a good cutter, but I think Vando just brings a lot of other stuff. Look, man, I'd be pretty annoyed if we finally got a team of wings and we went to 2 bigs. Like, I'd be pretty annoyed at that. Like, I understood it in the 2020 year. Like,
It'd be a crazy plot twist.
Yeah, like you got like 8 wings on the roster. Like, pick one to start next to them. All right, even if it's not Vando or Rui, start Max Christie. Go ahead, like if you want to. If Max Christie somehow shows out in camp, has a Austin Reeves level jump, like go for it. But I think I'd be pretty annoyed if we finally got a team full of NBA wings and we went nah, start 2 bigs. Like, you know how tough the minute rotation would be if you did that. I just think it would make life extremely difficult. And then, like you just said, it moves LeBron to the 3. That paint doubles in terms of the floor absolutely shrinks to where we're gonna see a lot of step back threes. Not just for LeBron, by the way. Austin and D'Lo both would become extremely reliant on jump shooting. I think there's a lot of like domino effects to where that's not necessary. If you want to play 2 bigs throughout the rotation, go ahead. I'm sure Jackson Hayes and AD will play together at some point. We'll play together at points. I wouldn't go that route, but I thought that was interesting to be floated as, in terms of the context was that this is what AD wants. I'm like, well, I mean, we signed 1 center, so I'm not sure that's exactly what AD wants, but we'll see, man. We have a lot of time to dive into the minutiae of that.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if it happens. Well, Raj, this was fantastic. We appreciate all the folks that were able to tune in tonight. I know it was a little short notice for everybody. We kind of threw this out there and planned it out, but we want to thank all the folks that tuned in. Whether you like, subscribe, share, whatever you do, we always appreciate the support for Lakers Detailed. Support me, Raj, whatever it is, however you want to do it, we always appreciate it. So if nothing else, we hope you have a wonderful evening or have a wonderful day whenever you end up hearing this on the pod or on YouTube. And if nothing else, we hope you have a wonderful, wonderful time. We'll see you in the next one. Take it easy.
Peace.